For those of you who only have one Facebook page, I've been doing some stuff a couple years ago, but I've got two different accounts. I got a Republican page and a Democrat page, and you'd be fascinated at the difference in the feeds in both of them. I've got Charlie Kirk videos on some that you never see on the other one, and vice versa. You know, and the messaging is completely different, and it's pieces of the same clip, same speech, and they're clipped and pieced together in a way in which they take what he says and make different messages out of it. But I've seen different clips from Jimmy Kimmel last night. So if you have a right-leaning, you know, or even, you know, close to center line of you know, political view, you may not see this. And they actually apologized, but it was fake. You know, it would have been better without the little half tear thing that he tried to do. But he did some sort of apology and made some sort of an understanding, but I don't know how many people seen it, because not a lot of people watched it, and the stations that did carry it, I don't know, they were in Timbuktu somewhere. But anyway, here's the actual pretend apology from Jimmy Kimmel last night.
But I do want to make something clear, because it's important to me as a human, and that is, you understand that it was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man. I don't think there's anything funny about it. I posted a message on Instagram on the day he was killed, sending love to his family and asking for compassion, and I meant it. And I still do. This show is not important. What is important is that we get to live in a country that allows us to have a show like this. Yeah. I've had the opportunity to meet and spend time with comedians and talk show hosts from countries like Russia, countries in the Middle East, who tell me they would get thrown in prison for making fun of those in power, and worse than being thrown in prison. They know how lucky we are here. Our freedom to speak is what they admire most about this country.
Well, after that, he went on to complain about Stephen Colbert's show getting cut off, and you know, they were picking between him and, you know, I think there's some stuff going on with Disney, and you know, they're trying to sell the ABC station that he's on. There's some stuff going on with football and some other stuff. I don't think Jimmy's going to be around much longer. I remember way back when he was on the Man Show. That's where I really knew Jimmy from. And he wasn't really funny back then. He was more like a goofy little nerdy guy. He hadn't changed a lot. And they used to sit around, drink beer, and crack jokes and watch women jump up and down on trampolines. So Jimmy pretty much just plays a character. And I know a lot of people are upset about what Jimmy said. But here's the thing. I know people that write jokes for some of these talk shows. And odds are Jimmy didn't even write what he said. Somebody else probably wrote that. He got up there and said, hey, that's a good idea. I think something I can get behind. But he's basically been sitting up there for years. He doesn't even write the questions that he asks the people to come on the show. Somebody else does that for him. A lot of time they say, you know, here's your opening monologue. This is what's good. You know, this is what's going on today. What do you think? And they might go over it. But the bulk of what Jimmy says, Jimmy doesn't even write that. He doesn't come up with it off his head. He's reading a teleprompter that has words that somebody else wrote. This is a produced television program. And Jimmy Kimmel's a paid actor. He's an employee. I mean, I know it's called the Jimmy Kimmel Show, but that's because he's the face of it. And that's it. He's an employee just like everybody else. But it looks like, I guess he's going to be back on TV. I don't have an issue with it. I really didn't have an issue with what he said. I expected it. I mean, they pretend like this hadn't been going on for years. I mean, it's not just him. It's almost every late night talk show has a hard left-leaning viewpoint. And all of a sudden, with the Charlie Kirk outrage, I think they took a moment, because he's got a little while left, but you know, sooner or later he's going to come up for contract negotiations. And I think Jimmy needed to be reminded that it's the Jimmy Kimmel Show, but he is still just an employee of Disney. You know, your name might be on the box, but the product inside of it, that don't belong to you, son. You know, they can pop out Jimmy and pop in Joe down the road and say, here, read this teleprompter, and you got yourself a new talk show host for way, way less money. I think a lot of people were bouncing ideas around about, you know, Craig Ferguson and something. You know what they need to do? Get a nobody. Somebody nobody's ever heard of. You know, there was a day when nobody ever heard of Jimmy Kimmel or you know, David Letterman or, you know, any of these late night talk show guys. There was a day when nobody knew any of them. Go get a guy that you can say, hey, this is what we want. This is the product we're selling. You either sell my product like this or we'll go find someone that will. You know, I think Jimmy needed to be slapped on the hand, and that's all they did this for. They used the whole Charlie Kirk outrage on you know, social media and everything else, and they said, hey, here's our chance. And once again, the liberals used Charlie to come up with some way of using him to better themselves, and that's what they did. ABC does not care. Disney does not care. The people that distribute the shows to the local television programs, that's who canceled him. And they're still canceling. He's still not on, you know, millions of homes. And it's just, the world's changing. There's not enough money in this. And the way it works, local television broadcasting, I have to pay to be able to broadcast this. And if I don't have enough people watching it, why would I pay to broadcast a television show if nobody's watching? And it doesn't make any sense. You know, you can sit out there and put your camera up out in a junkyard and watch cars rust. You know, I've made more views off of how to preserve fishing line than some of Jimmy Kimmel's shows. And it's ridiculous. You know, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. And they were pulling up stuff where Jimmy Kimmel, some of them had only had 100,000 views. And I thought, 100,000? Man, it's people out there watching cats do stupid stuff that's got millions of views. And then you got Jimmy Kimmel over here acting like he's important. He's offering some great big service. I don't understand who filled the boy's head up like that. You know, you're still the guy that watched juggies jump up and down on trampolines while y'all drank beer and crack jokes on them. You're still that guy. You're a paid actor, reading a teleprompter, telling jokes somebody else wrote. And Jimmy's just a face. Jimmy's not the show. If y'all have a real problem, it needs to be with the people who created the show, the show's producers, ABC, Disney. That's who produced this garbage. Jimmy's just the talking head they stuck out in front for y'all to look at. Have a good one. I'll holler at y'all later.